So how do we get rid of those dreaded rent and bills from society? Because let's face it, no one actually wants to pay them. So, if you and I, for example, went around the planet asking how much would you rather pay in rent and for bills, how much would you rather pay for your own existence? Well, the answer would be unanimous, wouldn't it? It would be, well, nothing. So let's just recruit some people. Let's go around the planet asking everyone. And I'm sure pretty much 100% of people would agree that they would rather pay nothing for their own existence. Because what is that, really? If we're having to pay for the basic things that we need to exist, shelter, energy, food and water, it's really a physiological type of enslavement, isn't it? It's rent slavery. So how do we move beyond this? Because it's something where I, pre-awakening, felt like was just the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. But now the answer is incredibly simple to me. I was walking down the road the other day and I was just sort of zoomed out and saw that we were just spinning around with this tiny little rock in space. We're these little beings running around, and we don't have the empowerment that we feel at the moment to actually do something about this. So we're sort of shaking our fist at the television and the government, and nothing's ever going to change in the political realm, is it? How many years, how many elections are we going to live through before we actually realise that? But what we do need to realise today is that actually we are in the driving seat. We are the people, aren't we? We are the 99% of the population. We are the population, except for these sort of people in these illusory positions of power who are just hell-bent on maintaining the matrix. But we need to break free from that. And how do we do that? We do that by realizing that we have to come together and empower ourselves to see that if all of those people that we recruit as we're walking around the planet, right, hypothetically, if all of those people could somehow become aware of a vision that's so powerful that they're willing to just provide £1, for example, each. And let's say we get 1 million people. We've now got £1 million from 1 million people, which is a completely different mindset from just one person with £1 million who's always going to operate for profit. So this is a profound psychological shift, and this is the shift that we need to actually co-create in the world so that we can immunize ourselves against greed and against this holistically capitalist society, and instead create a socialist foundation only. Socialism, for me, starts and ends in the foundational requirements that we all physiologically are dependent on, which is shelter, energy, food and water. So once we've recruited that money, what can we do? We can buy land, we can build homes for people, not profit, and we can all collectively, democratically and transparently agree that we should no longer be charging ourselves for the basic things that we need to exist. This is such a no-brainer to me that I'm very amazed that it's not already happening. But it can only happen, I think, when we actually start raising human consciousness. And that's really what newearth.land is about. It's not only about that, but it's also about creating the architecture. And I am a trained architect, and this is really where my passion for this comes from, is like having to do and work on these projects, often very affluent clients, and doing these sort of vanity projects, really, when really behind the whole scenes of everything is grave suffering all around us. Why? Because we're enslaved ultimately to this socialist matrix, or rather this capitalist matrix that is just continuating on a level of profit orientation, service to self orientation, when actually clearly it needs to be service to other orientation to some degree. And that's what I feel like we need to do. That's what we can all be a part of at newearth.land. So if you are interested in these things, then do join along and we can together move beyond rent and bills, okay? It sounds like an impossibility. It sounds implausible, but it isn't. It's so painfully simple. But it can only happen when we come together in numbers. And of course, we can do that today using social media, using the internet more wisely, instead of just, using it for how we're typically using it at the moment, which is obviously going to continue. But whilst that's all unfolding, we can simply empower ourselves and create the change that we need to see in the world. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.